What is up, y'all? It is another Wednesday of the series I don't know what I'm going to call yet. This is where we go look at stroke technique online. Now, I'm learning that there's pretty much like just a few dominant technique coaches, I suppose is the right way to say it, YouTube pages. So we're probably going to be reacting, for the foreseeable future to the same creators, which is, good and bad. But, wow, excuse me, guys. Doesn't give us a lot of variation on not necessarily ideas, but philosophy. We could have two people with the same thing. We're looking at early vertical or 5 ways to get faster. I have my thoughts on early vertical form and how it should be used, the correct ones. Man, I am sorry. I am a biohazard right now on this mic. Whereas, someone else may have some different ideas on their philosophy. So, we got this camera set up. We got this angle for watching the video. And then we got our angle. Wow, that's bright. Okay, so let's jump into the content.
This is one of the most important things that differentiates a fast swimmer from a slower swimmer. What I want to do in this video is break down the different techniques of an advanced swimmer and a beginner, put them side by side, and show you how you can apply this to your own swimming so that you can swim faster. Let's go ahead and start out with this beginner swimmer right here. Now, if we take a look at the body line, first of all, this swimmer actually has a pretty good body line. What I mean by that is where the body orientation is relative to the surface area of the water. So if you look at the surface level, right, those two lines are basically parallel. Now, what you see oftentimes with a true beginner, like a beginner, is the head position, I'll draw in a different color, is going to be a little bit higher. And so the body is going to be lower in the water because if your head is high, your legs are going to sink. Now, if you look at this swimmer, she's actually pretty solid on the body line. Where we fall apart is what happens on the actual catch. So let's go ahead and pause it on that frame. If you notice, the arm is pretty much straight, a little bit of a curve, but what we don't see is that high elbow catch. So when you, ideally at this point of the strip.
Oh, sorry guys, I think I had double volume on. So this is one thing, and if you are in my technique solutions, you'll know that I say this. Terminology, or if you're a teacher, using the correct terms consistently is very important. Okay, you cannot, or you should be trying to avoid interchangeable terms unless they are truly interchangeable. So he says his high elbow position. No. Okay, two completely different things. We have our high elbow catch. Let's see, make sure we get this so it shows up correctly. We have our high elbow catch. And then we have our early vertical forearm, which I just call vertical forearm because I think calling it early is kind of stupid. Like, why does it need to be early? It's just a vertical forearm. You do it before you start your pull. It's kind of self-implied. These are not the same thing. This is usually seen more with DPS, so distance swimming, training. This is seen more with sprint. Right, and then you have a tweener version of this, which is, it's a vertical forearm still, but it has upper arm principles of the high elbow catch. So with the high elbow catch, my biceps are generally going to stay pretty close. Right, you can see my elbow go on top, high elbow catch, my arm is long. Vertical forearm, elbow goes on top, forearm is vertical. And then you have the tweener version where it stays narrow, right? So vertical forearm, right? So it's out here, but it's still way in front. High elbow catch, elongated elbow on top, right? Almost like a C shape. And then you have the combination where I'm in a vertical forearm, which is a catch inside, in front, vertical. And that's usually where you're going to see your fastest 400 freestylers. Ian Thorpe, the guy who just went 4:39, Sun Yang. But yeah, those guys. So I think terminology, you got to make sure you say this correctly. Right? So, high elbow catch, long arm, was a terrible hand. There we go. All right, let's get back to this. Yeah, dude, I bite my tongue a lot. I know.
So the arm would maintain that position, and then it would come down. And so this is going to create our EVF. This is our early vertical forearm. If you notice, the arm right here is basically completely straight. I'm actually going to clear the screen and back up just a little bit, and you can see how the arm is pulling in a straight down. There's no bend in the elbow, and you really want to lift that elbow up and keep that elbow high the whole time.
So one thing that's very important to notice about this is, where is the elbow position?
The elbow.
Okay, so it's a little bit on the side of the arm. Obviously, with a correct high elbow catch, we want the elbow to actually be on top. But you'll notice that it's on the side. So a lot of times when some swimmers will undisciplinedly do the vertical forearm, they will actually do this, where instead of taking the time to really bend the elbow all the way and get to that vertical forearm, they'll just turn the shoulder and the elbow stays on the side. So are they pulling with the straight arm? Right. If it's sideways, like my elbow can't bend this way. It can only bend this way. So is it straight? Are they not doing a high elbow catch or an early vertical forearm? Are we looking at it correctly? She's definitely letting her arm just kind of drift down, I think, in my opinion. Or she's pulling in a weak way because she is opening up her chest, or moving that bicep away and opening up her chest. But it's not necessarily wrong. You know, this is usually what, like I said, you have a lot of people who are undisciplined doing their vertical forearm, and they end up with this. And this is usually why a lot of swimmers will end up being 100 freestylers instead of 200 and 400 and milers, is because they don't have a great discipline to get to this position. They end up here in the middle, which is going to have a lot more power, a lot more stress, and a higher amount of fatigue associated with it. Thus, they can't be more distance oriented or training oriented for that matter.
And you really want to lift that elbow up and keep that elbow high the whole time. So if you look at that first segment of the stroke, let's just go back a few frames. Let's take a look at this arm right here that's extended. There's the pull. You can see, look at the direction of the pull, right? The arm is almost sweeping out. You can see the hands are basically pushing out and the arm is dropping. I did mention the body position is really good. If you take a look at where her...
So something that's also, so this is the issue with pulling in a straight line, is if I'm here to the bottom of the pull, that's a straight line. But the moment I roll, my hand is just going to, because of, I'm way out here in this T shape, the moment that I roll, my hand looks like it's sliding outwards. But I'm pulling in a straight line relative to my motor skills. I actually think I just talked about this in some video. I don't remember what it was. I think it was Simone Manuel's 50 free Olympic trial race analysis for my members community. And you can see this now. Sometimes people with a vertical forearm will do the same thing, where their forearm goes here, right? But then when they roll, same thing. So what he's describing, yeah, she's sweeping wide, but you can still, it doesn't protect this, the vertical forearm from not also sweeping wide. And it's not a wide sweep. She's pulling in a straight line, but her body's rolling. And this is one of the, okay, I know exactly what it was. It was the last week on Instagram. I talked about swimming flat. This is a byproduct of swimming next to the head and not having a posture where you're more upright with your hand in front of your chest, where it can go underneath your body and also to the bottom of the pool, which is way more controllable than if your arm's up here and you're swimming more flat.
Her eyes are looking almost straight down. And this is why she has a great body line. So this body line, if I didn't see the...
So what you just described there, eyes looking straight down, I say don't do this.
Pull, I would actually think this is a more advanced swimmer. As soon as the pull started happening and the timing of the rotation, that's how you know that there's some work to improve. Now, we'll really see the difference when we compare this pull pattern to the advanced swimmer. But let's go ahead and clear the screen. Let's watch this one more time, then we'll go over to the advanced swimmer, and you can see a big difference in how that pull is happening. Right now, the arm is just dropping. Here's the advanced swimmer. Let's focus on just that segment, what is happening on the pull. Here it is in slow motion. We get the extension, Now, if you look at the body line, very similar to what we just saw. I'm waiting for the perfect, let's just focus on the body line. Body line right here, look at that, straight line, water line here. These two lines are parallel. That means the body is straight. That's good. The key difference is the pull. So let's go ahead and pause it at the right moment, and you can see, do you see right there? Still some room to improve, but it's better, right? The arm is still relatively straight, but you can tell there's a little bit more pressure being applied on.
So this is what I'm talking about when I say the undisciplined vertical forearm, right? So she's turning because the shoulder has to turn to get to the vertical forearm, right? It has to rotate to get to where that elbow joint can point down, and then the wrist has to go with it. Now, if you're impatient or undisciplined, you're going to turn it and bend it and pull, and now it's on the side only halfway, which isn't bad because you're still going to get the inner arm. The lever is not going to snap this way, whereas if it's here, it's going to snap. If it's on top, you're going to have some resistance, but then you just need to get your bicep stronger, right, as you try and pull this way. And the water pressure tries to pull that bicep open. But yeah, this is the undisciplined, exactly what I'm talking about.
The fingertips. It's a lot more direct, right? If we had the straight shot, we'll look at that next. You can see the fingertips are entering right in front of the shoulder, and the arm is extending right in front of that line. Like right now, I'm coming in to touch the camera. That's right in line with my shoulder.
Okay, so I like what he's doing. The thing is, he's upright. So now it's a twist. And he's also underneath his chin. So if he was to pull back, he would go like this. Right? Now you lay that swimmer flat, they're underneath their body, they're in the shoulder line, they're swimming with power. Whereas we've seen what happens when they're like this. Even she's doing it. I can tell already. We're going to see a little bit of outward sliding with her hand.
And then the arm comes down.
You can see
that
angle.
She's doing a better job. Eyes are looking down. Body line is good. Let's go ahead and keep watching this. Find the next stroke. There's the extension right in front of the shoulder. And here's that.
I told you that she is going to slide wide.
Go ahead and keep watching this. Find the next stroke. There's the extension right in front.
Okay, we can see the beginner right there, right? Hands going to the bottom of the pool, but then the moment she rotates, we're slipping out wide. Advanced swimmer. Look at where her hand starts out in the shoulder line. Look where it ends up. Way out there. Right? So just because you're doing your vertical forearm, and this is the thing about swimming, right? And this is why people hit plateaus, is because you'll see something and you attribute it as the cause, and you're like, oh, they're missing this feature. So we'll just add this feature to it, and when we fix this feature, it's going to correct the whole thing. And it's like, no, if the issue is the hand sliding wide, you need to fix the posture, right? Because you may be like, oh, if we just give her a vertical forearm, it'll fix it. No, she's still sliding wide. You fix her posture, so now forward is forward with her eyes and her body line, whereas if you lay flat, forward is straight down and sideways, right? If I pull in a straight line back and I'm here, I can't go through my body like this. I'd have to go around. We don't want that, which means you'd have to go down, which is what we do want. Right? And if I'm going down, I'm in front of my body, I'm making a lot more power. So that's why I think I like doing this series a lot more. You know, new series, like I said, I don't know what I'm going to call it yet. But I think technique reaction might be what I called it. You get to see how easy it is for mistakes to happen in coaching. Like you think you have the answer, and it delivers an improvement, right? If you ever add a vertical forearm, you're going to be pulling more water. Problem with that is she's still sliding wide. So now she's making more power. So is she making more power pushing herself sideways? Or is she making more power going forward? She's making more power, pushing herself sideways. What else has to happen now to overcompensate for that with more power, right? Which over time is going to be a major issue, right? Over a longer race, right?
And here's that straight shot. You can really see both of those.
That was a really good one right there. And for those of you who don't know, if you use the greater than and less than symbol, the comma and the period button, that's how I go back frame by frame. Okay, so look where her hand is. You can already see. And remember, the advanced girl is supposedly doing a early vertical forearm. She's not. Not even close. But you can see how that hand slides wide. And this is another issue with posture. A lot of swimmers swim with their shoulders in when they swim flat, whereas you have to be able to push that shoulder out and then be able to retract it, because it can't twist on top when it's in its socket. It has to slide out its socket to be able to get your elbow on top. And what's happening with her is to get to her early vertical form, because her shoulders are in her socket, she has to slide wide to where now she has mobility and range of motion in her shoulder that she doesn't have in the front. Okay? There's a lot going on. You see one thing and you're like, oh, she didn't have a high elbow catch, that's why she's going to swim faster. No, she needs to get a better posture. She needs to slide her shoulders out of her socket, and then she needs to pull deep enough so that when she gets deep, it naturally slides in because she is swimming with a upright posture, right? So all these details matter in the long-term development of a swimmer. And, you know, this isn't any shade to this guy, my swim pro, but it's just like, this is why I got into what I do, is because, one, I don't think coaches, well, obviously coaches don't know that, you know, the one thing they think they're fixing, they might be creating other problems, or not even fixing their main problem, or making the main problems worse. Like I said, yeah, more propulsion, but now more propulsion sideways, right? You've also made your error bigger. And it's a lot of talking going on for only being 3 minutes into an 11-minute video, guys. My bad.
Both of those. I really want to pause right here because this really illustrates what I was talking about when it comes to that high elbow catch. You can see her elbow there.
All right. 3 minutes in, right? To me, this is a lie, straight up. I do not like this. He's saying this is a high elbow catch. If you look at how I drew mine, it's from a side view. If it is an early vertical forearm, it should be early, before the pull. Not halfway through the pull because her shoulder is in her socket and the only way that she can get into that bend is here, but then from the front it looks correct, but that ain't early. Early is out here. So this is where I find a lot of people who are looking for solutions, like, so it's stuff like this, and I'm, you know, my swim pro, you know, as much as I would like to say, you know, sorry for being on y'all's asses right here, like, you're giving, this is bad advice. And you should be called out for it. So, you know, my bad. But you did it. You did it. And you didn't, you know, do more background research to make sure that you didn't let this mistake get caught by somebody like me.
There it is. You can see her elbow right there. That is a high elbow catch. We are getting true EVF. That's early vertical forearm. And you can see a different thing right over here with our beginner swimmer. If you look at where that hand is, look at that crossover across the body. There's this line right down the middle of your head. You see that vertical?
If I had to pick a swimmer that I want to coach, I'd want the beginner. Give me the beginner. Because at least her catch is out in front versus the early vertical forearm swimmer. She's missing half her catch. She's starting her catch halfway through her pull cycle. I can fix, you know, you get a posture, you're going to become, if you're next to your head, you're crossing over. You fix your posture, you're going to be, one, now you got to go through your chest to get on over there, so it ain't going to happen. At worst, she's going to be right on her midline. Like, that's one thing, and this is why I say the cause, the feature, and the symptom. The symptom is she's crossing her midline, and you would think, put the hand out wider. No, get your posture right. You'll see if that hand's on the other side of the body. You'll know right away every stroke if your hand's crossing your midline. Like, I can push my shoulder forward as far as I can. At no point is it going to make me do this with a good posture. It's going to make me go forward, just like he did when he was displaying it. He was upright talking about reaching forward at the camera. Like, it's when you fix that posture, just neurologically, it's so much harder to make these mistakes. So give me the beginner girl. I guarantee you give me a year with beginner girl, she'll be dusting, beating the brakes off of the advanced girl.
The line that I just drew, let me go back up just a little bit. There is a line right here. And so when your hand crosses over, that is an inefficient pull pattern. You see her fingertips are really crossing over the body. What that's basically going to do is you're going to swim in sort of like a worm. So if you think about it, the fastest way to get from 2 points, point A and point B, the fastest way is a straight line. If you go with a curve, right, that's going to take a lot longer. And that's what you're doing when you're crossing over that midsection.
This is also that overcompensation where if I'm pushing myself wide, I got to reach like this. So I kind of snake myself forward, right? So once again, you fix the posture, you're not pushing wide anymore. You're not reaching across your midline anymore. So this is obviously a vertical forearm video as a solution, but really the thing he should have been talking about is swimming in a straight line. And the solution is posture.
So let's go ahead and watch these both in slow motion here on the front-facing shot. Boom. I want to draw the high.
See, there it is. That's what I'm talking about. Right there. Where to fix that sideways push. We're looking at the beginner swimmer right now. Right, so to fix this sideways push, she's got to jackknife her whole body. Right, because she's going this way. So I need a jackknife so I can, when I push myself sideways, I still save myself going in a straight line. And if you watch people who do this, who swim, catch wide and push wide, you'll see their body like trying to go forward, but it's like fighting itself. Like it'll look like it's like shaking sideways, the swimmer. It's a very interesting phenomenon to witness.
Boom. I want to draw the high elbow catch again. And you can see here, she's trying.
He called it a high elbow catch that time. We were talking about vertical forearm. Like I said, the syntax you use is using the appropriate term, very important to communicate to your athletes. And when you separate the two also, you can, like when I say high elbow catch, we know we're talking about sprinting. When I say early vertical forearm, we know we're talking about everything else, training in middle distance and distance swimming.
Trying to get that high elbow catch.
So it's also important because it's going to provide context clues about everything that we're doing, not just the style of catch we're using.
But it's too late. If you look at this, it's really happening at the end of the stroke. So like at this point, the stroke's basically over. And that's why they call it an early vertical forearm, right? It's early because the earlier you can get into this catch. If you look at my elbow right here, do you see right here? This is a early vertical forearm. Now, let's say I were to drop my arm and then get into it, right? This is late.
Ironically, what he's saying right now is exactly what the advanced swimmer is doing. Beginner swimmer, like if I do early vertical forearm or even a high elbow catch, it's the same shape the whole way through the pull. Okay, I don't want to move this out the way too much. But if I early vertical forearm, right, that's from the front, right? Well, I guess I got to put it up here, right? So from the front, that's the shape we have. As I pull through, boom. So now from the side, it's a straight line. But in front, it's off to the side. Now, as I finish, right, I have that elbow kind of sliding in, which is the late one that he's talking about. So it's the same thing the whole way through. So not necessarily that his analysis is wrong right here, but all finishes are their tricep extensions. So if you ever see swimmers doing dips, this is why. Right? It never made sense for me until I learned how to finish my stroke. And I was like, oh, that's why we did all those dips with Eddie. And this finish at the back, right, it's the same shape all the way through. The extension in the back of the pull is the most powerful part of the pull, but only if you took care of the catch. So if you can't catch up top effectively, the finish doesn't even matter.
This is early, so my fingertips enter the water. I'm reaching, and then I start that pull. And the earlier I can get into this position, the more water. If you can see right here, I can't draw it because my hand is stuck and my iPad's over here.
All right, I think I'm probably going to end this pretty soon. Another thing he's doing, if you look at his square, shoulder, shoulder, hip, hip, that's what they call it in basketball, square yourself. Any boxing sport, like defensive side sport, athletic stance sport, let's say square yourself. He's doing this right now, and this is another error that happens and is something that's susceptible from swimming flat, right? So we know that advanced girl, because she can't press her shoulder forward and because she's swimming flat, she's not able to turn it over until her arm gets here, right? So she's into it late. Now, another issue that happens with people who swim here is they'll have to, and he's doing it right here, we'll go back and look at it, is you have to over-rotate so you can get from in front where you can't bend so well. If I open up, now I can bend. But now I'm also completely open, completely weak power, and any rotation that happens, I'm super out of position, right? And as we look at his, you can see his whole square is turned towards us while he's catching out here. Let's go, oh no, 26 minutes. Sorry guys, I gotta keep these videos kind of concise. So I'm actually liking this. I get to come up here and show off why Rakely's better. But shout out to them. They don't have, let's see, he has 300. He has an account with like almost 1 million followers. So that's no mistake. He's obviously offered a lot of value to a lot of people. But I'd say what he's talking about and what we do with Rakely, I'd say this is like step one, what he's talking about. Because I designed Rakely to be for like the athletes who like have all the fundamentals, right? They have the early vertical forearm. And now you're trying to reach your talent ceiling. That's what we're about. And it's like things like he was showing, like the vertical forearm, which is actually like not even early at all. It's halfway through the pull, of the sheets, halfway through the pull. The things about the beginner swimmer, how her impatience and lack of discipline is actually creating a highable catch. But while she thinks she's doing an early vertical forearm, right, being able to identify these things and put them in the right place for competitive purposes is the difference maker for maximizing your talent. She might actually be a great 50 freestyler, and she already has great 50 freestyler mechanics by not popping all the way on top and bending that elbow a lot. So you might be about to ruin a good swimmer, right? So that's kind of what we want to do with Rakely, is make sure we're getting everybody the actual skills and equipment they need and helping you recognize errors where you might say early vertical forearm and they're doing mild training, or you have a long, hard practice, but they're doing a high elbow catch where the arm is staying long and they're suffering and nobody knows why. It's because undisciplined, impatient to get to this. So now they're ending up with this, which is meant for power, and it's going to cause high fatigue. So if you thought this video helped you out, please hit that noti bell. We drop a video every Tuesday, Wednesday, and Friday at 10:30. Please hit the like and the subscribe button. Helps push us in the algorithm. Drop a comment. What you think about the early vertical forearm? Did you learn anything new? What you think about how the different rotations and body alignments affects where you hit the high elbow catch or the early vertical forearm? Let us know in the comments. Help us get boosted in the algorithm so we can get this information to the people who know it. Once again, thanks for hanging out. Peace.